The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I called to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and I have been saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangled me, the torrents of destruction overwhelmed me, the cords of the grave coiled around me, the snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. Good morning, church, and welcome to today's devotion. I know that the initial adrenaline rush and to some degree the novelty of Corona has now well and truly started to wear off. And there is a grieving that is starting to take place in some of us. A grieving for what was and for the return of life back to normal as we once knew it. And for some of us, that grieving experience actually started this past weekend when we went through the Easter weekend. And for some of us, the first time in our lives, for others, maybe not our entire life, but maybe decades or years, we have been confined back to our homes between our four walls without our extended families, some of us without even any of our families, and without the comfort of being able to go to church for Easter. And so we're processing what's going on, and we're doing it at a speed of light because it's ever changing and evolving. We have questions and challenges that we are facing. For some of us, that is financial instabilities. For others of us, it's homeschooling. You know, we have many teachers at Liberty who are now schooling their students online, but also have children of their own and are having to homeschool their own children too. So all of this is very new, and they're grieving which was before the stability of the routine. For some of us, we're grieving isolation. We're stuck within four walls. Some of us are living on our own. For some of us, even though we're with our family, there's no escaping the craziness of home. And as Psalm 18 verse 6 says, "In my distress I called to the Lord." I want to just tell you this morning that our position always needs to be that of drawing closer to Him, especially during a time of crisis, not pushing away from Him. And I want you to know, church, that it is okay not to be okay right now. Our lives have changed overnight, and it has affected 100% of us in some way or another. This is not just something that is happening in our country, but this is a worldwide pandemic. Dr. Henry Cloud explains that in times of crisis, which by the way is what we're in right now, our brains make maps of how we do life. So, for example, if you're sitting in your lounge and want to make a sandwich in your kitchen, your brain has already mapped out what the path to the kitchen look like and where the fridge is and exactly how to make that sandwich. But what happens if someone suddenly puts a sofa or a couch in the way of the fridge? Well, our brain tells us that there is a problem or that there is an error. And then what happens is our brain amps up and it resorts to trying to solve that error. And right now, for all of us, our brains are living in this state of error and they're trying to reset all the time. And for me personally, what happens is I start living in this state of hypervigilance where I become super controlling and I see everything in front of me like a minefield that has to be very carefully navigated. All of us are mapping out these changes in different ways, and we're doing it each and every day and overnight as we're living in these states of hypervigilance. And honestly, it is exhausting. I'm sure that there are many things that you are processing or dealing with right now. And for a lot of us, that involves our mental health. For you, maybe you're mourning the loss of connectedness. This crisis would most definitely have changed how we connect with each other, but also even how we connect with God. And for you, if you're a single person, maybe your connection really each day was going into the office and meeting with your work colleagues, maybe going to the gym after work, meeting with colleagues up there, or going for dinner with them afterwards, or a movie, or whatever it was. And now you're thrust into this situation where you're at home, social distancing, working from home, and the only contact you have is through your computer screen. You know, we've been social distancing now for 5 weeks. This coming Sunday is our 5th week of completely online church. That is a really long time. And so for us, we need to be very intentional about connectedness and do things that we've never done before. As a church, we've been reaching out to individuals, each one of our congregation members. But I want to say to you, if we haven't yet managed to connect with you, please reach out to us. We don't want you to be doing this or going through this alone. We want to be there for you. And so we're working our way through the database. We're trying to do it each and every week. But if we haven't gotten in contact with you, please reach out to us, especially if you're struggling. We want to be there for you during this time. There are other things that you can also do. Instead of just making a phone call, maybe you can have a video call with someone so that you can see their face and eye-to-eye contact. It's very important. The other thing that you may have noticed or be struggling with is the fact that when we're in crisis, the first thing that happens is our structure and our routine becomes annihilated, and it brings in this feeling of a loss of control. What's happening is that our boundaries are breaking down and we aren't getting up and going to work or going to school on a normal schedule. So there's this breakdown in boundaries. For you, maybe your structure and routine are completely gone. If you are a parent, especially if you have little children or teenagers, you're going to realize very quickly that all structure and routine is gone. They're going to bed later at night. Some of them are up until the early hours of the mornings. They're sleeping in till late in the morning and getting up. It's just a new way of structure and routine of the way things are right now. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to have a way to create your new routines and structures to take control back of the situation. When we are in a place of having to create new routines all the time, and it creates in our brains an anxiety and a depression and an actual mental fatigue that is exhausting. And so the more you can organize and structure your day and bring it to some form of routine, the better it is going to be for you to cope mentally. Create a day of routine. The other thing you may be struggling with is your mental space. When we're thrust into a situation of something that we haven't actually caused, like the coronavirus, what happens to our brain is it goes into something called learned helplessness. And because I can't control this pandemic, the control impulses that are in our brain actually begin to shut down. And what we do is we stop controlling anything, even the things that are in our control to control. And what we do is we gradually drift into this passive state and we don't do anything because we're waiting for normal to come back. And when you're stressed, your brain creates thoughts which are not actually really your own thoughts. It's the enemy trying to invade our thoughts, and it creates catastrophic thoughts and impulses that are kind of like a panic attack. And so we build up these scenarios in our brains. And what we have to do is we actually have to take ourselves out of that state and rise above it and notice and take into consideration that these thoughts is not actually us and our thinking. It's stress. And what the enemy does at that point is he tries to come in and to rob us of our joy. And so I want to encourage you today, as we read earlier in Psalm 18, verse 2, the Lord is my rock. He is my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. You take refuge in God. He is your shield and the horn of your salvation, your stronghold. And so if you're struggling today, if you're anxious or depressed or mentally fatigued, or you're just feeling out of sorts, I want you to know that that's okay. You can allow yourself to be that way because you're not perfect and you don't have to be, because your refuge is in Him. He is our safe house and our safe place, a place where we can find rest and renewal, joy and peace and protection, and that is Jesus. He does that for us. He is our rock and our refuge. And now my prayer for you is that the words of the songs that are so beautifully penned together and written and produced by Hannah will really minister to you and bring strength and encouragement for you today. Have a listen to this song. It's called Safe House. I love you, church.
could see was the storm, the things in my way, losing sight of your love, losing sight of your grace. But through the wind and the rain, I heard you calling my name, desperate for me to know of your refuge and strength, that you are my safe house, my hiding place. When the waters surround me, you keep me safe. When my whole world is shaken, I cry out your name, 'cause you are my safe house. You're my song in the rain. Now here I stand in your grace, in the eye of the storm. I look up and see your face, shining bright as the morning sun. Now I'm desperate for you, your heart and your ways. So I'll pour out my song, Lord, for the rest of my days. 'Cause you are my safe house, my hiding place. When the waters surround me, you keep me safe. When my whole world is shaken, I cry out your name, 'cause you are my safe house. You're my song in the rain. And your hand shielded the rains that would fall and flood my mind. Your word's faithful and true. If we seek, then we shall find. And you spoke to the rains that wore this weary soul, saying, peace, be still, for I have made you whole. You say I am your safe house, your hiding place. When the waters surround you, I'll keep you safe. When your whole world is shaken, just cry out my name, 'cause I am your safe house. Yes, you are my safe